only 6 laps per race, around 10 minutes or so. It really has to be full send for the word go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we start with that chaos, that famous land rush start, and if you don't get cleanly through the 10 wide in the first corner, you've got a lot of work to do to try to fight back. That's why we're excited to also be watching the qualifying, because I think that's going to be important. If it's 2 rows, 3 rows deep, I mean, we drove down the highway here today, and that was 4 lanes wide, and we were a couple cars back. Imagine 10 lanes wide, and you know something is going to happen.
Especially when you throw some jumps in the mix, and everyone just wants to get in that same lane as well. Yeah, it's going to be a special showdown here today, but let's talk a little bit more in detail about the cars, because from what I gathered, there was a wide variety of rallycross cars that these drivers can kind of pick from. Which are sort of the ones that we should be looking out for the most?
Well, it's interesting. We are likely to see a good variety of the rallycross cars. There's multiple models that are available on iRacing. Now, our friends here at Next Level Racing are big fans of the Subaru. It's a 4-door sedan. Behind us, got one of those Ford Fiestas. They're not an identical spec car out there. This is a different layout, a different wheelbase, how it handles the jumps, the tight turns, the wide, fast turns, how it handles the jumps is different car to car. People have their preference between that, between the Volkswagen Beetle as well. I mean, there's some choices, and they're not handles on the same car. They're different cars with their own beasts.
Are we getting the Beetle? Is someone going to be busting out the Beetle today? Because you can't drop that on me and then all of a sudden if I don't see it.
Well, I can't guarantee that the Herbie is going to be fully loaded, but if we do see it, we'll have our eyes peeled back. Certainly the most popular is the Fiesta and the Subaru WRX STI.
What would you be taking though out there, like, and why? Kind of like, so what is the reasons why one person would take one spec over the other?
Well, we're going to get into the detail of Crandon International Raceway later on, but it has a really challenging mix of corners. There's some cambered hairpins. You're really slow in there, scrabbling for grip with your 4-wheel drive. A short wheelbase in those kind of corners might help you rotate, but then still you've got turn 5, you've got turns 1 and 2. They are fast, they are flat out. A bit of stability on what is a very loose surface can help you with the longer wheelbase.
At that same token, though, I almost feel like turn 3 is going to be arguably the most important turn, because that's the one going into that big, long straight, and yet that's not really where you need that shortened car, as you were describing. So maybe you can get away with something different, or am I just being, you know, dreamy in that regards?
No, I think that's a good analysis of it. As we look at the track map, you can see turn 4, your key overtaking opportunity. What this track map only sells us a little bit on is the vertical elevation change of this circuit. So yeah, you're right. Maybe a good drive off of turn 3 will set you up to overtake in towards turn 4. You can see hairpins, but then also some of those quicker, faster corners.
Yeah, I don't know. When I look at this track, when I was kind of watching what I was saying before, it really feels all about that exit from turn 3, getting in turn 4, and if you can drive safely, a little bit defensively, you should be able to get through that technical part. Granted, that was also in the trucks, where I do feel like because they're so wide, because they're so jumpy, overtaking maybe a little bit more difficult in that regards. What is going to be the big difference, I suppose, for those who are used to driving this track on the trucks, going to the rally cars? Are you really going to feel that?
I think you are. You've not got as much suspension travel. You take a lot of speed over some big jumps, and as you land from heights that rallycross cars aren't quite used to, you're going to use up all of your suspension travel. It makes it so much more difficult. It's so much more challenging to precisely get your landing. You want to land flat. You don't want to land nose down. You don't want to land two-tail up. You don't want to land side to side. You can roll these cars easily if you get the jumps wrong. You know what makes it easy to get the jumps wrong? When you're taking them door to door with other drivers. A lot of cars on track together, certainly, you're always going to be door to door with someone. That's the chaos at Crandon.
And I feel like we are going to be seeing a lot of that. But again, I'm going back to lap 1. I'm going back through those first couple jumps. It's going to be so important that these drivers go out there, they get that good launch, because, yeah, I mean, you're talking about the landings. The launch is where you find that landing. That's where I'm going to be looking at. And I'm wondering how many cars we're going to see bumping into the launch. Who's going sideways at the start and who kind of gets caught up in that collateral damage?
And all the different models of car have got different tools to help you get away from that land rush standing start. You've got first gear rev limiters, you've got handbrake release and bite points, and it is different to each car. You've got to tune it up yourself. So many aspects of this racing are in the hands of our drivers in both divisions who are coming up. How they nail that start, how they manage, how aggressive they want to be wheel to wheel, how much they want to bump, because if they want to, they can get away with it a little bit. Rallycross really is the wrestling of motorsport. People might be familiar with me from, endurance racing and other such things. This is a different style of motorsport with its own charms and its own excitement.
All right, you're talking wrestling. Let's go into that a little bit deeper as we talk about some of our drivers then. Division 1, some big names. You kind of talked about at the start of the show, some drivers from the Nitro circuit, some who kind of raced in the iRacing Dirt League professionally. Who's the Roman Reigns right now? Who is the big dog? Who is the driver we're looking out for?
Well, I looked down the entry list and it's a great pool of drivers for that top division, which is our sort of feature race coming up later in the broadcast. And like you say, drawn from 3 pools, our fastest qualifying drivers, our Nitro Circus sim racing pros, some of them iRacing world champion black stripes, and of course, our next level racing staff, they are super familiar with these rigs and this equipment, and we'll get into that. But the name that I saw on the entry list got my attention most, Connor Parisa. Real pro, so much work, has done the grind in this Subaru Rallycross car, competed in the World Championship with it. He's got so many hours, so much practice, so much that instinct, that seat of your pants, that muscle memory that you can only get when you just race and race and race at the top level like he's done. That's my driver to watch.
All right, we'll be keeping our eyes on him. I do feel like he's the type of driver where if he gets that strong qualifying, gets that fast start, could be a situation where he just controls the pace from start to finish and winds up finishing, in the end in first. Obviously, I still would have loved to see this one reverse grid. I think that would have been fantastic just to see a bit more of the chaos, more of the overtaking. But at that same token, here's one of the drivers I'm keen to watch. Zach Christie, who we can see kind of on screen right now, warming up in the environment here. We kind of were able to watch him practice before, can see him now. Confidence might not be there because of some of the bigger names, but as you did mention, there is a lot of talent here at NLR, and kind of got coached by, some of the best, dare I say, while working here. I think he could be a sleeper in this race.
Yeah, he's just in the room next door to us. He's on one of those next level racing motion rigs. And we were talking about the kind of feeling you get, because we tried one of them out just recently, and the kind of feeling you get through the motion of the rig there can actually be pretty important in the rallycross here, because sure, your key feedback as a driver is in the hands, in the steering wheel. There's so many great direct drive products out there that really give you feel in the hands. But when you're in the air, and there's a lot of air time around Crandon, you don't have that. There's no weight on the tires. The hand goes light in your wheel. That's where the motion rig that they're in really does give you an interesting feel for the weightlessness, for the way the car is moving through the air, and of course, key to almost every corner around here at Crandon, how you land from that jump and grip up into the turns to carry your momentum.
Yeah, and obviously that is going to be one of the most important things when it comes to sort of maintaining that, pace, I suppose, because if you don't maintain that momentum, especially on a track like this one, you're just going to get swallowed by the pack from all the drivers who do, and you might get in the way, and then we could get a little bit chaotic then. Granted, not the only racer who is going to be racing, in-house as well. There was a second, another familiar name, someone who was also kind of racing. I don't think he was in the league proper himself, but he was in the All-Star event, I suppose, when I was looking at the Crandon race there before. The name is slipping me because...
Adam Briggs, mayhaps?
I think that's the one.
He's in the building. I did see him in the iRacing Off-Road World Championship All-Star race a couple of months ago.
Briggsy, as he was told on our sheet coming into this one. I didn't know what to call him, Briggs or Briggsy, okay? Because it's an Australian broadcast. We call him Briggsy here.
He's a Briggsy,
He's a Briggsy. That's official. Mark it down. But he's also another one I'm going to be looking out for because he didn't do too well in that All-Star race. He got taken out on like the third turn, did a full 360. But I am assured that if he was able to keep it straight, he would have won.
Certainly got a lot of pace, a lot of swagger, a lot of confidence. We're looking forward to that. And that's all coming up in the big feature race with those top qualifiers with our Nitro Circus friends. But there is another one coming up before that.
Div 2, that's right, because there are 2 divisions. There are 2 races we're going to be going at, and I have to admit, I wasn't too familiar with some of the names in this one. However, a couple locals still, Australian locals in this event, someone who you were talking to, I believe, before this race, getting into this one. So if I'm asking, who are we looking out for in Div 2, I think you already have a name there.
I'm honor bound to say my friend Mia Rose, who I can see is currently, that's got to be 18th in the practice at the moment. They're warming up. They get into their qualifying, and we're going to cover that. We're going to see where the speed is, where the different cars are around the track, and then we get into that first race that is all of our drivers who've come in from the community qualifiers, from the iRacing and sim racing world at large, and have they made the cut, a very, very fine cut into the top split with our Next Level Racing and Nitro Circus friends? Well, no, not quite, but they get their own race. We're going to cover it. Here's Mia Rose. We're giving a lot of the Australian love, but there is so many people all around the world in our races today, and that's part of the great thing of this sim racing. You can get some great rigs, some great stuff at home, join in, compete around the world, and we've got some cameras and some other rigs to show you.
Is that a slot car track mounted on the wall right there? I'm not sure whose rig this is, but if that is a slot car track mounted on the wall, I think I might have a new favorite right now.
Do you know what really seals that for me? Has got to be the lighting underneath the slot car track. So that's one of the Next Level Racing rig products there. Looking good, very sturdy mount for the wheels, the pedals, absolutely necessary. I'm so done with racing from an office chair. Let's have a look at another one of our setups here. This is what I was talking about. I'm a big fan of the flight sim stuff too that they make. That looked like an Airbus A320neo to me, which is one of my favorites.
So what you're saying right now is you take the flight sim, setup, the gear, the chair, and all of that, and then you put that into a race car, and all of a sudden you're cutting seconds off your lap times?
I wish I could fit a CFM Leap turbofan engine, 30,000 pounds of thrust into a race car, but they do make products that will allow you to convert easily back and forth between your wheel and your pedals for your racing, slide them out, bring in your yoke, your stick, your throttles, and your different pedals, but still pedals for your flight controls.
Excellent. And
how good, recent news from Next Level Racing, Matt Hall, now one of their ambassadors. I saw him in the air, in the skies above Mount Panorama, Bathurst, just a couple of weeks ago, really putting on a show, to my left, to my right, packed out everyone's eyes on the stunts that he can pull in the air, now Next Level Racing ambassador.
Yeah, that's actually pretty sick. Obviously, NLR. I mean, look, if you were questioning whether or not this company was on the up and growing, that is that new setup again right there kind of being shown right now. You can see it. We got the studio going, bigger races, big names in for this one as we are getting closer to our Div 2 race. It's actually so cool to finally get down here, finally check out the studio, really get a feel. And this is just the beginning. So definitely a good place to be if you haven't already kind of signed up to NLR, joined that Discord, found out about these events. They're going to be running several of these throughout the year. This is only the beginning. It's going to be a fun beginning, but it's never too late to get started.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Next Level Racing making and selling their products almost every corner on the globe. I got onto the website. I saw their retailers. You can get their stuff even in JB Hi-Fi here in Australia, at your Micro Center, Walmart, Amazon in the US. Every corner of the world, they've got these immensely popular products, not just for the racing, but now for flight sims as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I'm kind of excited to see where they go next. I've heard rumors about dabbling into other games and other things and sort of new chairs as well.
Haptic feedback stuff they're getting into as well.
Yeah, so that's something I think that could be a lot of fun. So definitely keep your eyes on here if you haven't already. I'm trying to get a vibe right now how close we are to this race. And as we get closer, let's go back to talking, I guess, about the qualifying, because we're going to be getting into that shortly. What sort of times are we going to be looking at on this track?
Well, it's a big track compared to most rallycross tracks for this style of car. Crandon is a big circuit. We saw the track map, the layout, over a mile, 1.6 kilometers. It's a lot of dirt. So we're seeing lap times more like 1:20 than 40 seconds like you might get on some of the more compact rallycross tracks. So there's a lot of real estate to play with here, but then you throw on 20 plus cars and suddenly things start to get a bit crowded and we're a minute away from that qualifying session. I love that it's almost it's a meritocracy here in this split. A lot of people wanted to race it, wanted to be part of this event, wanted to be on the broadcast, and we've taken the cream there.
Yep.
And we're delighted to be getting into them.
Exactly. Div 2 is still going to be, I think, an incredibly fast race. It's not going to be similar to the Div 2s that we've seen before. It's certainly not going to be that 50-car reverse grid that we had back in November. That was something completely different. Just think about that real quick. A 50-car reverse grid race. It went exactly as you thought it would. But at that same token, when you up the difficulty of the track, of the style of the cars, yeah, this one is going to be special. And I'm expecting Div 2 to be up there with a lot of those Div 1 drivers. Again, a lot more community-oriented in this race, which means this is where the less-known grinders are, where we're going to be seeing someone, I think, new possibly rise through the ranks.
Yeah. And here's where I feel this qualifying becomes super important, is talking about how it sets the grid. And it is a bizarre little grid here at Crandon, because you have 10 wide on the first row, 10 wide on the second row. I mean, I want to be first, second, or third on this qualifying, so I'm up the front, so I'm on the inside into that first turn. But if I qualify 9th or 10th, sure, I'm on the front row, but I'm all the way on the outside. I'd almost want to be first, second, third, or 11th, 12th, 13th.
Yeah, I was about to ask that, because I know with other events like motocross and the likes, it's very much a case of you choose your grid position based on where you qualified. That's not the case here. So qualifying P10 is almost like qualifying P15 or 16, depending on how that start actually goes.
It is a big lottery, luck of the draw when you go 10 wide for the start. So the driver's leaving that little pit lane now to go out and set their qualifying laps.
Yeah, Matthew Lind, going to be our first car that we're driving out, just kind of making their way out of that pit stop. Again, there is no damage for this, so these guys are going to be able to fully send it off of these jumps. They're not going to be destroying their wheels or their axles or suspension or anything like that. However, that landing is still going to be so key for maintaining that speed. Granted, when you pull out the pits, this isn't the lap that counts. Either way, would you like to walk us through this?
Yeah, absolutely. Great to be on board here in the Subaru WRX STI. You get an idea from this level of the driver's view exactly how intimidating some of these truck off-road jumps are in what is based on kind of a family car turned sports car turned rally car, and you see how much of it is about the rotation into the corners onto the dirt and how much of it is about keeping the car nose forward and level in flight. Look at that. That's the corner that I'm going to be looking out for there. I think that's turn 6. You come off the jump and you land straight into a hairpin left-hander. If you fly too far, you miss the corner. If you land straight on, you don't got time to turn the car into the corner. If you land with too much yaw, you could roll over. We've seen people land wrong, roll these cars. So it's the precision in the air as much as the precision on the ground that can define a good lap. And what we are doing is coming around the final hairpin here now. Lind goes out super wide, but what that lets him do, straighten it up. That's the timing line. He's trying to carry maximum speed into this flying lap. You see there, landed on the right front tire, and it did unsettle the car a little bit, but it's all looking reasonable so far.
Those first couple jumps look so difficult to me, just because there's really no easy way to land. It looks like coming off of that first jump, but my eyes, you're looking at turn 6, I'm looking at turn 3, and well, hopefully not going to be looking at that when we get into the race, so we're just going to jump over to Zach and Chrissy now. But yeah, that turn 3 was talking about it at the start of the show. I feel like if you can nail this turn, you're going to carry over so much speed down that main straight, maintain it through that 4th turn, and keep it through into turn 5. That's where so much can be sort of won and lost. And noticing how Zach Christie is kind of riding the bank right here, maybe a little too hard riding the bank. Yeah, we saw that, buddy. We saw that, Zach. But I want to talk about riding the bank right there.
So how good is it that he's wearing his seatbelt?
True. Hey, those chairs bounce, all right? They're rough. They're rocky. Real quick, though, riding the bank down the straight after turn 3. We were talking about this before. You think that's intentional to help give you that best line going into turn 4?
Yeah, I mean, look at that. Get the tail up there. It gets the tail out, really lets you flick into this deep slide at one of the tightest corners on the circuit, because otherwise you get a lot of understeer on the way in there if you don't do something to help rotate the car. Now, all these rallycross cars have got a handbrake, and if we look at Zach later on, you'll see he's got a physical handbrake there as well. So that's one of the other things you can do to help get the car to turn into the super tight corners. Not something you use a whole lot of normally, but in that specific circumstance where you're like, come on, get the nose in, get the tail out, the handbrake is a lever for fun times.
Yeah, and I mean, you could really watch, Charlie Thompson right now putting good use to it, just really kicking out that tail to get around these turns and maintain it again. For those of us used to more road racing, you don't usually see the big drifts like this, but it's one of the fun things about rallycross. You can really throw it out there and trust the car to be able to follow through. Charlie Thompson now going to be coming across the line. Curious to see what sort of time we got right there as he does get registered.
Went 6th, but then immediately he gets bumped down to 7th. And the times are moving very quickly. You can see them on your timing column. At the moment, your fastest qualifier, who's out at the top? David Schofield, it looks like. So that's a 121.7.
Only driver to get into the 121s, however, still about half of qualifying to go in this one, 5 minutes 30. It is a 10-minute quali. When do we expect to see the real fast times coming in? Because, again, without the damage, I'm not really sure how much the tire degradation is really going to be affecting here. Is it one of the things where those last laps are going to be the key ones?
I think you save something in reserve just mentally when you know you've got a couple of runs at it, and each time you push the envelope a little bit further, because we've seen you can roll the car if you land wrong. You can hit the wall. You want to get close to that wall, but you just hit the nose on the wall there. And again, that's what it means. Is every single lap, you want to push those boundaries a little closer. You want to fly further over the jumps. You want to get the nose closer to the Armco. And if you're done with all of your qualifying laps, you want to get that man in a next level racing flight sim and out of the driving rig.
I would say that was about like an 80, 90 meter launch. That's going to be the current benchmark right now. I know that doesn't go towards qualifying, but let's see if that gets moved before the day is done. Either way, we have Adam Briggs right now looking about ready to set a time. We'll be curious to see where this one goes. They were at a 123.3 before, and it was a little bit shaky, it looked like, coming across the end there.
Yeah, no time set up into that. Gets a 123. Now, obviously, full attack on this one. You see how much you've got to get the tail out. You're almost looking out the passenger window to see where you're going into some of these corners, especially those hairpins.
I was watching, some of the drivers practice before, and even watching you when you were having your go at that rig, and again, it is just full, like nearly horizontal to the road, especially on some of the turns like this one. You have to have so much faith going around these corners because it's nearly blind, and while that's good for the hot laps, I'm also kind of thinking ahead towards the race right now. How do you have the confidence to go into that, throwing the call as 90 degrees as possible, and not really knowing where the drivers are next to you?
That's what makes the rallycross so difficult. So, Marcus Palacio there. First time to the board, potentially, we're looking at. Currently unranked in this qualifying, the air time that these cars get here at Crandon. When they designed these cars, they were thinking of dirt down in a car park outside of a stadium with one jump per lap and a joker lap. Here, this is a circuit for trucks, and we're throwing the rallycross cars a little out of their element. Look at this, setting up with that wide entry to the timing line. Time running out in this session to set a good one. Currently no time on the board yet for this driver. It's got to count.
Yeah, Marcus going at it right now. This has to be a big one. I think we're going to follow them along as well as they get it. Trying to maintain that speed before going for the long straight right now. And I'm going to be curious to see how much they look to hug the bank. Actually, a little bit more centered than some of our other drivers we were able to see before, as they are going to hit a wide entry on that turn. And they may have gone a bit too deep, lost a lot of speed on the exit there.
So easily done there. It's the highest speed part of the track into one of the tightest corners, and you need to rotate the car, maybe try to stay close to the inside. So there's time to be won or lost there. Now that's turn 5, and that becomes turn 1 on the land rush starts, just based on where the grid is. But it's one of those really quick corners that maybe the Subaru should be good for. Now, if we're still tracking to set a lap time, you want to keep it tidy. You want to keep the nose in front of the tail, because we loop into this left-hand hairpin, immediately into the right-hand hairpin to the finish line. But that is a bit loose and a little bit wide into turn number 7 or 8 there.
Yep, as we're getting in towards the end of the track right now. Super, super wide to maintain that momentum. It does look as if they could be thinking their next lap might be the one, but they're really going to have to push it right now, because with only a minute and a half remaining in this qualifying session, realistically, drivers should be starting their last laps about now. We're going to watch Jeff Newton have a go at it. Jeff Newton, time to take a look at where they are at the standings. Definitely not really towards the top. Currently sitting P4, actually, so they can push for it. Hopefully for Jeff, they're going to be able to get there really riding that bank as tight to the apex as possible. That's how you're supposed to hit turn 4.
I like it. Super, super precise. And your top 3 in the standings right now aren't on track. They're done. They're parked. They can't improve. And they'll be hoping Jeff Newton doesn't. You've also got 7th place, Blake Reynolds, out on track. So there's only a few drivers who can still ruffle the pecking order, and it'll be so good in the first half of the lap for Jeff Newton, who knows this is the last chance to try to move into a more fortuitous, potentially safer position on the grid for that land rush start.
You know who's fallen into actually a good position? Mia Rose, currently sitting P11, and that's kind of like, you know, if you're going to be middle of the pack where you want to sit, I almost wondered, do you try to improve from that time or not? Either way, Jeff Newton, big air coming into those last couple turns right now. Where is Jeff Newton going to finish as they're going to punch it? Not going wide this time. They know this is their last go, a 122.259. I don't believe that's enough to advance any places.
No, and I'm not even confident that it necessarily counted there to move him up. You can't be grazing the concrete walls around your qualifying lap either, but that's the checkered flag on it. That locks in our land rush start. Your pole goes to Daniel Schofield there. But he starts with 9 guys, 9 drivers to his left.
As we take a look at our starting grid as well, yeah, it's a wide first row as we see David Schofield, Greg Johnson, Benjamin Foster, Jeff Newton, Matthew Lind, and Bobby Rafferty, our top 6. But again, the front row goes all the way down to Tyler J. Graff right here with Marcus Palacchio, Blake Reynolds, and Russell Peterson alongside him.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of change beyond that top 10. So Charlie Thompson starts on the very inside, 1 row back. If there's carnage on the outside, you could go from 11th to 3rd so quickly. Flicking through this group, you also had Mia Rose there. We've got Joseph Weatherby, James Watson.
Who is Nitro Circus Star Car? Who is the driver there?
Surely that's got to be the account on one of our rigs next door, right?
Oh, maybe as we keep going through. Trevor Teal, actually a surprising name we're seeing back down there. It's 21 to 24. I was under the assumption there was going to be 20 cars on this grid. It looks like there's 28.
And look at them. There they go. They're gridding. 10-second countdown, I think, is in the air. And once you see all of them grid, you know why this event is called Chaos at Crandon.
Get ready. It is going to be chaotic, that is for certain. Everybody loading into this one. These first couple turns are going to be dramatic, but it's David Schofield's got that inside line, is going to be the driver to watch with Greg Johnson, Benjamin Foster right beside it. They are the top 3, but looking at this, 10 cars wide, 3 rows deep. If someone misjudges something in the middle, everyone's getting taken out, so it's going to be a very dramatic start.
Yeah, 10 minutes, 6 laps. You need to get through this first corner and this start unscathed if you stand any chance. If you drop too far back, you might be out of it with no time to recover.
All right, I think this is it. That final countdown should be going right now. So if you aren't, comfortable yet, well, it's going to be too late at this stage. Here we go. Timer 3, 2, 1. We are underway. There. The little jump right there from that yellow car in the back. Now we are underway. Here we go, kicking things off, and you can see Schofield going straight for the turn, but immediately behind him, cars getting pit maneuvers, spinning already, and perhaps going straight for the dirt track was not the option. How are people winding up backwards before the first turn? I don't really know. Smashing into the wall, we see 4 or 5 cars immediately dropping positions, but it is David Schofield who somehow survived that. No, I take that back. That is actually Colin, I believe, who is out in the front right now with Adam Briggs right behind. They're going to be the 2 who got away clean.
That's what we were talking about. It's better to be on the inside than at the front. So those drivers who are on the inside have made some great moves forward. They've avoided the absolute carnage that we saw. But what a launch up front. Schofield immediately into the lead, then passed by Briggs. Jeff Newton is amongst it, and they're going to cross where the finish line will be in 6 laps time at that gantry.
Meanwhile, though, just behind them, we're still kind of going too wide right now as, you know, people find them fighting for that 3rd place spot and maybe kind of sneaking through. Could be Marcos, except he wounds up kind of going up into the wall a little bit, and passing opportunity no longer there. It looked like someone also kind of wound up on the inside of that big hairpin turn. Cars just finding every angle right now. We were promised chaos, and so far it's delivering.
Yeah, and another change for the lead up there. They keep swapping it back and forth. This is a track where you can have a big slide down the inside, make a bit of contact, and if you can get drive off the corner, you'll make some positions, but not like that.
Just send it. Might as well. Again, damage is off. These cars are meant for bumping and grinding. Well, maybe not this much, but they are when you're racing here at Crandon, and it's good to see the drivers putting full use to it. Again, everyone just sending it through these turns, but as things are going, Evan right now out in front already has a 2nd lead. You've just got to make sure you land those jumps cleanly, otherwise you could wind up losing it. Granted, we weren't watching our driver in first right there, but you can see how an awkward landing really exposes yourself for being overtaken.
Yeah, exactly. Things looking good for Schofield. What is that move? Dives into the corner, turns himself off someone else's nose, and that is not the way to make positions.
Well, it's a good way to lose about 6 or 7, but hey, if your goal today is to come in here and practice your overtaking, there could be something to be found there, but as it stands right now, a little bit of bump from behind as well coming through, as no one has been able to really get through a lap clean yet.
No, they're working on it, but this is technically the start of the 2nd lap. We get an extra half for free with our land rush start, and things looking good for Schofield up front. Then Palacio, then Benjamin Foster. Look at that, trying to find some traction on the grass on the inside of the corner. If you can find just a little bit of grit somewhere special, it can really help you launch off those corners.
Camera right now on Trevor Teal right now as they're looking to set themselves up through turn 4. This is that prime overtaking spot, and well, Trevor Teal's just going to send it right into the back. I believe that was into Alexander Potiet, and that's going to be a little bit frustrating. Trevor Teal, though, they're looking cool, calm, collected after that. They just murdered the car in front of him. He doesn't care.
He knows what kind of racing this is. It's rallycross cars at Crandon. It's the only way is to have a go. Doesn't always stick. He's having a word, but I don't think it looked like, sorry, my bad.
No, I think it was more of a get out of the way, I'm coming through. Still in P7, though, so even though he took, you know, a car out in front of him, didn't wind up gaining a position because in the process lost a spot. Now it's actually
he might
pulling
actually
over
be
to the side, and
maybe the word was sorry.
Oh, he could be letting someone through.
That's different to how I race, if I'm honest with you. I'm a, you know, Rubbins Racing, do it for Dale kind of guy, but that's some sporting behavior in what's a pretty damn short race for it.
If he wasn't caught on stream, I don't know he does that. I'm going to throw that out there. Maybe if you're on stream, okay, we'll sit it back. But in a situation like this, yeah, maybe not. David Schofield right now on front, but we're currently watching Russell Pedersen sitting at P5, looking to chase down Tyler Graff, who's in front of them. And finally, it looks like we've been able to single out a bit, less side by side, a little less chaotic. It only took to getting to lap 3.
Yeah, I mean, anywhere you look, you're still going to see some chaos, but out front, they are starting to stretch just a little bit. A tidy little lead for David Schofield, but the real battling is kind of all in behind that. Look at them, so sideways, and that's the quickest way to drive on this surface in these cars.
Yeah, and really hats off to David Schofield right now. Didn't get the start they were looking for as we saw Marcus just launching right behind him. I was a little nervous about that landing. Okay, they're fine, may have lost a bit of time. Nonetheless, though, David Schofield started off, wasn't the start they were looking for, kind of got caught up in it, lost a couple positions, but now out in front, now where they want to be. This was our pole sitter. You'd have to assume from this position, unless they make an egregious mistake, they should be able to take this one home.
You've gone and said it. Thank you. That saves me from having to curse anyone. Anything can happen.
I will curse.
You'll wear that.
I wear that hat. I use it as a weapon. I want to see the chaos. So David Schofield's fine. End the race after 4 laps. He's got this. Nothing will go wrong.
Yep, and that's Max alongside me, not my words, but anything can happen here still, even when you've got a comfortable lead at Crandon, because these jumps are a little oversized. You ever been on a trampoline with your older brother and you get that double bounce? That's the kind of feeling for these rallycross cars over these jumps, is that they're just too much for the suspension travel. You can get so upset as they land.
Yeah, that you can, but where it sits right now, David Schofield has been slowly pulling away, so let's look further back at that battle for technically P7. Your pick, Mia Rose, holding off a couple drivers right behind them. Now, Alexander's had a bit of a roughie. It's been bumped around, still sitting in the top 10, and taking that turn a little bit wider, kind of saw Matthew Lynch looking to dive on the inside, but as a result, may have given up that position. The two are going to stay side by side. Better landing for Alexander, though, means they should be able to maintain this inside line and hold on to P8 for now.
It went wide into turn 5 there, though, and back down the inside. This is the jump we're talking about. You land now door to door with Mia Rose. A little bit of a bump there, but the inside line's where you want to be. 2 positions in 2 corners. It's not done yet. A 3-way tussle.
Yeah, I think these 3 are going to be battling for a bit, although a little bit of trouble behind, it looked like right there for Matthew as they got up on that bank, able to recover for now, and Mia Rose is the one who winds up worse for wear. The inside line not really maintaining that speed, and that's what we were talking about before. You have to be able to maintain it through those turns, although it could have been a setup for here. How much speed will Mia get on the inside? The answer will be not enough. Going into lap number 5, she's still going to be sitting in P9.
You can see the differences on the track. There's the packed dirt, the racing line, and then, that's a big move. Oh, okay. Was that a bit misjudged? That's into the wall. Thankful for no damage, but you've also got the loose dirt, and it handles differently. It feels differently. You get out wide onto that stuff, you make mistakes.
I don't know if that was entirely Mia's fault, though. It looked like she kind of got caught up by the drivers in front. Either way, wound up losing a couple positions. Now back in P9, going to have to try and climb back up. Charlie Thompson currently going to be in front of her there, and we'll see how much damage, how much ground she can make back up with only 2 laps still to go. As we could see, again, Benjamin Forster, I should say. My apologies. Currently sitting in P3, looking to chase down P2 and Marcus, and I mean, Marcus has been slipping away from the leader. Still has been a pretty clean race. Benjamin, though, looks like might have a bit of pace on him.
Yeah, snuck his way into the top 3, working on top 2. Your leader is maybe in a slightly different county of Wisconsin right now, but this is definitely our battle on this final lap to the podium, and you see how close they want to get to those concrete walls. It's not quick to touch them.
Yeah, that's a little awkward of a bang right there, but didn't look like it was too damaging. Again, still, Benjamin Forster, I should say. I keep wanting to say Foster. Sorry, it's the Australian thing. But
yeah, it's Australian for beer.
Exactly. No one here drinks it, by the way, if you're watching internationally. Nobody. As it stands, though, Benjamin definitely trying to go super wide. I suspected they were going to be pushing it on this lap. May have pushed it a bit too much. That could have been their last chance to really make the move. Awkward landing off the jump. This isn't the push to second place we wanted to see.
No, on the last lap for them now. Yep, and that's your greatest overtaking opportunity. And it's gone. So graphics says final lap. Our leader might be getting a little bit of traffic here to the end.
Yeah, but that said, though, David Schofield, they've got a bit of a gap before Marcus behind them. All they need to do is keep things steady. The checkered flag, you can see it up there above, just has to cross that finish as they're launching their way through, avoiding as much of the traffic as possible. And David Schofield, our leader, gonna come around these last turns and across that finish line. He will be the winner of Division 2. Give it up for David Schofield.
And, you know, he had a great qualifying performance, but he didn't have it easy in the race. They swamped him early when he was trying to be conservative, but that kept him in the race to show his pace later on. This is our battle for the top 10, and they've been going back and forth. Can Mia throw a slide to try to take this position away right at the end? Have a dive, have a go.
Send it. Oh, she's going for it. A little bit of a tap, though, and they both go around. Look, if you're in that position in front, you have to expect it. You can see the finish line right there. Mia's going to be the first to recover, but sneaking through, it looks like someone else got in there. Charlie Thompson across in reverse.
Now, I asked you earlier, how many forward gears does a rallycross car have? But the answer is there's 7 racing gears. If you can take the checkered flag, spoiler first, in reverse, so heads up, so clever, a real show of desperation, but anything that works, works.
If you're asking for, a most chaotic moment for Chaos and Crandon, I don't know if it's cars getting spun before the first turn or finishing the race in reverse. Either way, everyone just finding ways to drive backwards in this one. This heat, though, in the front of the pack, a lot different than it was in the middle and the back. Hats off to David Schofield for getting that win as we continue to cross, but this is just the warm-up. We still have, Division 1 right around that corner.
Yeah, having seen that car reverse across the checkered flag, I feel very warmed up for another dose of chaos at Crandon. Great performance from our winner there. It's all Subarus for the top 8.
Yeah, you have to go all the way back down to Charlie Thompson there in the Ford, who finished going in reverse after getting spun by Mia Rose, who was still able to hold on to that top 10, so well done right there. But yeah, Schofield, Palacio, and Forrester are top 3 at the end of this one. Tyler J. Graff had a strong showing, got a little caught up at the start, but able to get 4. Russell Peterson, P5. Jeff Newton, 6. Alexander Petit in 7th. Bobby Rafferty, who was able to sneak through at the end right there to get that PEA. Charlie Thompson, again, 9. Mia Rose, 10.
Yeah, so our top 10 there, from a chaotic and large grid. Going over, got Joseph Weatherby, Gary Owen, Annalise Wright, Adam Briggs down in 14th there. Sebastian Peterson, Brian Sabelski, Evan McFarlane, Blake Reynolds, another one of those surprises to see so far down the field in 18th. Eric Dubois and Zach Christie, 20th. I hope he had his seatbelts on for that one still.
Yeah, we saw them getting bumped around. Of course, this was a 28-car race, so James Watson, Carson, Caitlin, as well as the Nitro Circus star car, who I was hoping, look, I see Nitro Circus. My first thought is always going to be Travis Pastrana. That's just where it goes. We know he does rallycross. I don't think that was him out there today. Trevor Teal, a little bit surprised to see them back so far, as well as Matthew Lynch, Greg Johnson, Francois Martel, and Brian Sawyer bring up the rear each. But look at how far back behind they were. I think they may have bowed out a little early.
Yeah, I think to be 7 laps down in a 6-lap race, you have to not have been on the starting grid. So you can see who got taken out on lap 1 and who wasn't on that starting grid. But the real surprise for me on that final page, Matthew Linda led briefly, looked so quick in that next level racing Subaru WRX STI, couldn't get the result, and that is writ large how rallycross works.
Yeah, that was a great warm-up race, a little bit of a tease for what is to come. Granted, as we get ready to go into our main event, yes, some of the driving caliber we might think will be a little bit higher, but as you've seen, it might not even matter just because of that first turn. I think I counted 7 cars getting caught up in it, and that was the first turn, not including the cars who got caught up on the straight before that.
Yeah, it's not flat on that land rush start. It's bump, bump, bump in towards the start of the race. So we did see 10, 15 cars easily get tangled into that. Your mode of attack has got to be survive first, try to make positions and lap time later.
Yeah, exactly. So as that one sits, David, all right, look, we got to rate. Let's rate this. Let's rate this in terms of hitting our expectations. I think it was there. Maybe rating is not the backward, but I kind of want to see what should we be seeing different, I guess, in this next race. Where does this next one go? Because on one hand, yes, these next drivers are supposedly faster because it's the main event, but that also means they're going to push it harder, right? That also means they're going to take more risks, right?
Yeah, I'm rating that one a 10 on chaosiness, a 10 on Crandoniness, maybe a 7 on competitiveness, because we did see Schofield get away and out to a little bit of a lead in the back half of the race.
I tried my best.
You tried valiantly. But then we had all that sort of side-by-side. We did have lots of great racing and a crazy finish in the mid-pack. So with 20-plus cars on the grid here, we're always going to see something, some racing, some door-to-door give and take somewhere in the field. My fingers are crossed that it's for the lead in our next race.
That said, we do have a little bit of an interview as well with the winner of that race, David Schofield. Very strong showing from them. I believe we are going to be able to hear their voice in our ear right now. David, can you hear us?
Hey guys, how's it going? Good to be here.
Hey, first of all, congratulations on that race win. You didn't necessarily get through that first turn in first place, but you were able to find it quickly. How relieved were you to get through those first couple turns still driving forwards?
Pretty relieved, I got to say, probably along with everyone else who made it through turn one. Yeah, I was a little nervous starting on the inside. That's always going to be prime territory for getting pinched off, and I actually did carry a little too much speed through it. And you probably saw me push a little wide to the outside, and that set me up for Briggs to come in and take the lead away in the next turn. So yeah, a real chaotic start, but glad I got through it. I'm not sure what happened behind me, but sounds like it was an interesting time.
Never need to worry about what happens behind you. Not in a race like this. It's all about moving forward. But did you come in with a strategy? Because it looked like you just went straight for the road right at the start and kind of hoped you'd be able to kind of get it through there. Or, I don't know. Like, was that your game? Like, did you have that game plan in motion? And how quickly did the game plan go out the window, I suppose?
I don't know about game plan. I mean, I was pretty good on pace, so I was just coming in here with the mentality of just gonna try and put in the best laps I can and see where I end up. Ended up in first place. Worked out.
Yeah, fantastic. Congratulations on that. And knowing this land rush start, these rallycross cars on these massive, massive jumps, I mean, when it's such a big grid, how does that affect how important qualifying can be?
I think it's especially with the fixed setup here, where the times are going to be so close. It can be really important. Getting the car at the wrong attitude going over the jump can set you up, on the wrong line for the corner coming after, and you could lose, half a second, a whole second, maybe a second and a half down the ensuing corners. So yeah, qualifying is really important. Getting the jumps is really important.
Well, congratulations. Amazing performance. You battled your way to the win, and you had a little bit of time in your back pocket at the end as well. You got anyone to thank there?
Thank all the fans for watching. I'd like to thank you guys at Next Level Racing for putting on this event, bringing the community together. It was a good time. I had a lot of fun. Also want to thank Josh Edmonds, guys like Josh Edmondson, Trevor Teal, everyone at Nitro Circus, who also does a lot of support for the rally community. So thanks to everyone involved. I really had a good time.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you as well for competing. We hope to see you in more events like this in the future as well. Real quick, just because I have you here, just real quick before you go, do you know who's in the main event, and do you have any predictions who's winning it? Because I need to know. It's for my own notes. This is personal.
I don't know. I think it's probably going to be a battle between Quentin and Cameron, but Justin Robichaux was putting up some good times in practice. He might give him a run for their money. We'll see.
All right, excellent. So thank you very much there, David. And now we kind of have to do look ahead. David led us off on this one. You kind of mentioned it before. It seems like it has the same idea of who they're expecting to be in the front of this main event right now.
Yeah, I'm delighted to hear that my pick is a little bit of a dark horse in this upcoming round. So, I mean, what it does go to just underline is the level of quality and the level of names that we've got coming up in this big split, this main one, this feature. The Nitro Circus guys, the Next Level Racing guys, and the creme de la creme of our qualified drivers. They should be the most consistent, the most practiced, the fastest. You put all of that together, there are some delicious ingredients in this cake, and it would look like they are warming up before their qualifying. Yeah, that is definitely not a qualifying situation right there, but it is, getting ready to go. You can see this is qualifying, actually. Sorry, we are already 1 minute in, but it's only 1 minute in, so we're still early days right now. But yeah, we're getting ready for this main event, and I have to admit, looking into this one, everyone has their names. I'm still kind of banking on the NRL and Next Level Racing, NLR. I can do this. I can speak words. I'm banking on the NLR. I'm banking on Briggsy to kind of come through right now, so we can see Paul Miko. Oh boy, that's a hard one. Mikolajczyk. Paul is doing a very good job right now, I would like to assume. Yeah, so this early into the session, we don't have any times on the board yet. This looks like it would be first flying laps. So again, we talked about if you've got a couple runs, a couple opportunities, you want to just build up to that maximum commitment. Start with something that's safe, put a banker lap time on the board, then fly a little further over the jumps, get a little closer to the concrete walls, maybe take over these jumps with a little bit more sideways. What should we be seeing a little bit different, though, in this one right now? Because,
obviously when we're going from like Div 2 to Div 1, you know, we are going to be expecting to see a little bit more lines. My big thinking coming into this would be sort of the increase in risk right now and seeing how these drivers are going to be pushing it that little bit more. Should there be anything we're expecting in these qualifying laps? That's what we're going to find out as we're kind of watching along with Paul right now coming through. But yeah, so my question, based on what we saw from Div 2, we saw some lines obviously a little bit more successful than others. Are we going to see even more sort of tricky, high-risk lines coming from these Div 1 drivers?
I mean, your optimal racing line for a lot of these tracks involves getting the nose right up towards the concrete walls. It involves maybe, you know, getting the jumps just right. And these more practiced, more talented drivers are able to achieve that greatness a little more consistency. That's the difference, is to hit that perfect racing line every time, which is so difficult on dirt, because it's not just where you place the car and how fast you're going, but also how much tail out you've got, what gear you're in.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like, from personal experience coming into this one, I know it's not gonna be the most appealing game, and I'm probably gonna be getting some looks, but I've been hitting the Trackmania hard, and there's so much similarities, I feel like, in Trackmania as there is in dirt racing. This isn't a stretch, trust me, because it is always about maintaining that momentum. It's all about managing your gears and making sure you can maintain that high gear, and it's so much about how much you're able to throw the tail out of the car while maintaining that speed, relying on that grip. So, like, it feels like every Trackmania race is a dirt race. Granted, that's an arcade game. You're not in the full next level racing setup, although I'd love to see that for that game, but the similarities are there.
No, I absolutely see the parallel you're making. So much of Trackmania lap records is about, you know, landing the jump into the slide right. That's how this works here. Yep. I mean, there's some differences.
Where's my loops? Where's my loops? I want some loops. I want some boosts.
Checkpoints?
I don't want checkpoints. Checkpoints are the coward's way out.
Okay, yeah, you're about the fastest way only,
yeah,
I bet. I bet.
Like, if you're using a checkpoint, you're killing your time, right? Like, what would a checkpoint in a qualifying lap be if you could just go back and reset it and give him a no? You got to hit your lap from start to finish. And again, that's kind of what qualifying right now is all about. We're watching Adam Briggs, my pick to do well in this one right here. We can see looking to set, hopefully, a good time. They're on pace for something that could be strong right now. Would like to see him towards the top as they're coming through that last turn. Definitely not a setup lap as they're hugging the inside that little bit more across the line. Where do they sit? A 122.3. That would have been in the top of the grid for Div 2, not in the very top, but in the front row. Either way, still a bit of work to do for Briggsy.
Yeah, Cameron at the top at the moment. Lap time's still very, very early in this, and this is the part where you can overtake if you can get some of those jumps right. Jacob Raffos, the number 13. That's a very good livery for the Subaru. I love that we're seeing some more competitive looking liveries here as well. More drivers that have got an esports or a team affiliation, and a race car always looks good when it's got some sponsors on it. It lets everyone know you mean business.
Yeah, that Nitro Circus car right there, definitely pretty strong right now. Our top three drivers at the moment, all Dirt Championship drivers. This is kind of what we were expecting coming into this one. The cream rising to the crop right now, just past that halfway point in this qualifying. So now people, if they haven't done it already, are going to be looking to really push, get those big laps in. Josh Edmondson right now, definitely throwing that car around. They're currently sitting P6. Are they going to have the pace to crack that top 5?
About halfway around the lap here, and this is what I'm talking about. Such a short little ridge. How you land there, bleed off all the speed from 6th gear down at 3rd. You haven't quite done it if you're Josh Edmondson. That's such a challenge to get the car slowed, rotated, and try to hold it tight. And then immediately you're right back into more jumps in this really fast section of the track. And we heard our Div 2 winner explaining how challenging that corner is on the start. How much speed do you carry in? And how hard do you hug the inside line? That was sideways in the air, right?
Yeah, it was sideways in the air, landed, maintained that speed. If Josh Edmondson had actually hit turn 4 cleanly, this could have been a screamer of a lap. A bit unfortunate how much time they were able to lose back there before. Still 3.5 minutes remaining, though, and Currently 1:20.021, our fastest time. We're getting close to getting underneath that 120 mark. That was not what we were expecting. We thought 120 would probably be the fastest. I'm curious if someone's going to beat it, who that's going to be.
Yeah, and we've got all of the drivers out on track right now, all of your top 20. You see, that's the line in the final corner to set up to try to carry speed, give yourself a great start into the lap. And so for Josh Edmondson, time ticking down at best. 2 more laps in this session, I reckon.
I feel like we're currently sitting in the backseat of the car right now. When we kind of look at this, like, oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, no, we're just chilling in the back of the car, Josh Edmondson's car, along for the ride. Trust
we go to Dreamworld, Dad?
Yeah, it's only just up the road. Come on, Josh, take us. Just drop us off.
Oh, he's overshot the corner again. That's the trouble point of this lap. At that turn number 4 is you come in with so much speed into one of the tightest corners, and you can't brake effectively on the dirt. You're trying to do so much at once. You want to carry speed in, but so often you see them skate on past.
That was a little bit of an awkward landing right there. You definitely don't want to land on 2 side wheels, I feel like, especially not the inside wheels coming down that straight. So a little bit concerned that Josh's time won't be enough to crack them up further. A lot of people are finalizing their runs right now as drivers finish up this lap. Cameron Peterson, still going to be curious to see what they're going to put out. Currently sitting in P2 right now. If they're going to be able to crack to the top. Obviously, Paul up there as well. We were watching them earlier. They could be a finisher in the top 3. Still some names, though. Still waiting to see what Josh is going to put out. This is going to be their first lap in a bit, and it's sitting at 1:21.074. Not quite enough to crack that top 5.
And when you see him take that jump into the infield, you know he's done. He parks it. He's done. Most of the drivers are out. They've done their laps. There's only a few left that can disrupt it. Of course, this is one, Francois Martel, that is a little shaky across those bumps, but I think that's one of the places you can get away with it. Has the space and time to straighten it out before he goes into the super fast turn 5.
Yeah, you can see them absolutely screaming. That little car, it looks so small on this track made for the dirt trucks, but at that same token, they're just bouncing and flying around. Something about the scale makes them seem like they're flying even faster. Either way, this pace not looking that great, already nearly a second up, and that's not where you want to be.
No, and just wide in these hairpin turns. You cover more ground, more real estate if you go that long way around the hairpins. You do want to get to the inside for the shortest run, and I think he's ripped the handbrake and called time on that. I've seen, if you look for the rear tyres to lock up while the fronts are still spinning, you know these drivers are using the handbrake into some of the hairpins to help the rotation. Not a common rallycross thing, but it's one of the tools you've got if you need it.
I wonder if that was almost a little bit intentional right there, seeing that their time was down. It's the last turn. You might as well do a little doughy before finishing because it's going to be the last chance you get. Either way, I don't know if Connor Fisk or if Zach Christie are going to be the 2 that are going to crack that top 5. So I do believe our pole setter has been set in this one. And even though they didn't get under that 120 mark, it was still a fantastic showing out there from Jacob.
And the way the iRacing sim works, the track is relatively dynamic. The dirt can move around, the speed can increase or get slicker. And we saw lap times, race lap times in the previous division that sort of matched or bettered what was possible in qualifying. So don't count out a 119 in the race.
No, so we'll see if that comes through. Jacob Rafost will be sitting in pole and will be the driver most likely to do it. Next to them, Cameron Peterson. Next to them, Quintin Dalolmo. And then you've got Paul Mikolovic. There's no way I got that right. I'm sorry, Paul. I truly am. Francois Martel in P5, Josh Edmondson in P6. And again, normally we'd be further back on the grid, but we're still in that front row with Tom Grady, Josh Klog, Brian Sawyer, and Daniel Aish.
And then you go one row back. It was a good place to start on the inside of the second row last race. Will that still be the case for Justin Robichaud? And then alongside him, Levi De Carol. Then row 2 continues with Sean Winkler, Eric Whitner, Connor Fisk, Adam Briggs, who's next door to us, Scott Kerr, Blake Reynolds, 18th. I would have thought could have qualified a little further up. Trevor Teal, Zach Christie, and then 3 extras
Yeah, the Nitro Circus star cars coming back once again after, not quite able to finish as high as they would like before. Connor Berry and Bader Bakish at the back, and you can see them all lined up right there. Again, P1 on that inside. So much grass in front of them. Such a long straight to get to that first turn, and it was chaotic last time. Cars getting spun before they even made it to that first turn. Hopefully, coming into this one. Now, secondly, there's a third row.
Now, that's a third row. I mean, what are we going to see in this one? Is the inside going to be safer or dangerous? Schofield got through cleanly on the inside in race 1, but told us it can be dangerous there. If the cars to your left want to squeeze you, you're up against the wall. You've got nowhere to go. So hoping for a clean start so we can get into a super competitive top split, if you want to call it, feature.
Well, it looks like everyone has loaded themselves in, so we are about ready to go with our main event. This is it. This is the big one. So many big names, and we are underway. Eyes on that inside. Josh didn't really get the start I think they were looking for initially, but they're still going to be able to break away. Super late on the brakes will be enough for that pole position through, but the chaos behind, a little bumping, a little grinding. One car's in the wall, but for the most part, everyone was clear till those first jumps. Someone went sideways. I didn't catch who that was. The car has flipped as well.
Looked like Briggs has gone and flipped. A couple have gone deep into the corner here, and they've survived the first turn safely, but then immediately they're into the jump, side by side, air-to-air contact. You've got no control.
That's where the trucks had their trouble as well at the start of their races. So again, Div 1, similar to that. I'm not sure who we just saw go sliding off the road right there, looking to regain themselves. It was one of the NLR cars. Again, the chaos at Crandon, it's delivering early, but in the front, it is currently Cameron Peterson, who looks like they got through clean, have made some moves. Everyone's lining up now. A couple cars going wheel to wheel. A little bit of a revenge bump right there, sends someone sideways and spinning down the road. But for the most part, outside of the cars flipping and rolling. Okay, you know what? I'm giving up on it. That was not clean at all.
Chaos in the midfield. Someone got turned around at the finish line there, and they all seem to pile into that. There are blind crests here. A car can be sideways the other side of it, and you can't see it up front. This is the slide job in towards turn 4. I think we've had a change for the lead there. Indeed we have.
Yep. Josh Claw currently out in P1 right now, but a bit further back right there, you can see Jacob trying to get some positions back. That was a move for P3 right now. Still has 2 cars in front of him, and those 2 cars getting sent up to battle each other. Quentin still sitting P2, doesn't get their cars sideways as Josh, and maybe they can maintain a bit more speed as a result, but with everyone lining up right now, eventually, we hopefully should be seeing them go side by side. Do you like that? Eventually, hopefully?
Yeah, well, here we go. You get in hot, you carry a lot of speed, but you wash up high. And 2 for 1, is it? Looked like Rathos tried to slide down the middle. He's taken 1 spot, hasn't been able to take the lead. Delomo's gone through to the lead of the race.
Yeah, so Delomo's going to be in first, but still it's just getting pressured by Jacob right now. Josh, the big loser of that move before. Hold the thought. Jacob pinched into the wall. Well, goodbye, pole sitter. You're going to be falling behind right now, dropping all the way back. It looks like it's Josh down to P8. As we continue along right now, heart in the mouth moment, that is for sure. Jacob currently sitting P3, has some ground to make up, but you can see all those NL cars behind still bumping and banging. Francis, I believe, getting right in there with Brian right now. No one really wants to settle into the position where they're at.
The way these cars are on dirt with low grip, the corner speeds are low, the straight line speeds are high with 600 horsepower. It's a massive concertina effect every time you get into one of these hairpins. You're breaking down from 200 k's an hour to 40 or something like that, and that sees them close up so close, bumper to bumper, door to door if they're sideways, and it leads to some unpredictable action. They're sideways across the jump, all of them, like a freestyle motocross team.
Absolutely, and the Nitro Circus team kind of showing off some of those other sports they're known for. There's something beautiful about synchronized cars just throwing themselves sideways through the turn, maybe not off the road as you were seeing a little back right there. I believe that was Francois who got a little bit out of sorts. Either way, Paul in that POV position right now, currently sitting in P6. trying to crack into that 5th position. We can kind of get an idea of what the train looks like as everyone just throws their car as sideways as possible. Throw that butt out before continuing along. Some work to do, as every time you look at the leaderboard right there to that left, there's someone it looks like spinning, crashing out, overtakes happening left, right, and center.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about screen burn-in from that timing column, that's for sure. It's jumping, changing around. It's a screensaver all of its own. Great to ride on board with Mikuladze there and see exactly how sideways you get. The camera has to yaw to the left for us to still see where it is we're damn well going. And Rafos, well, he's in such an interesting position here. He's dropped backwards into 3rd place.
Driving in like, you know, the darkest dungeon right now. Just such a moody sort of place, and you can't blame them. They started pole position, had that fantastic start, lost a couple spots right now, and has been trying to fight it back. It's been right up in the tail behind Josh Edmondson for a good long while. We'll see if they're going to be able to make the move. Wants to go a little bit wider to maintain that speed. I expect they could be trying something. I want to see them cut to the inside right now. Will a door be left open? It is. They're going to try and hug that inside. Did they maintain enough speed? Can't really see what's beside him, but it looks like he did get the move done.
Speedway style, 2 lines forming through some of these corners. Do you go up against the cushion, or do you try to hug down the inside where it might be slick? And for Rafos, he said, I'm braking a little earlier. I'm taking the shorter but slower line. That'll get me car positioning, and then I can block you out and look forward at the race lead.
Fantastic move from Rafos, who now has to play, you know, a little bit of the rundown game. It doesn't look like Josh Edmondson is going to be able to fight back immediately, already bleeding time to the driver in second place.
Look at the Edmondson onboard there. He's reaching for the handbrake. You can see it. He's got it to his right-hand side into some of these hairpin corners. He says, I need that rotation. Give me the handbrake to just lock up the rear tires, skid sideways, carry speed, but is it too much speed? Almost to a standstill up high on that cushion.
Yeah, that's going to be some time lost and maybe a way for Justin to get themselves back in it. Meanwhile, further back, it looks like Brian Sawyer having a little bit of issue coming out of turn 4 as well. Dropped a couple spots, but the big chase right now happening a little bit further ahead. We can see Brian Sawyer, oh no! Hits the nose of the car. I believe that was against Paul, and now it's gone completely off the track.
Well, he'd be glad for no damage off that wall hit, but being sent off the circuit has cost a massive amount of time. We're getting towards the tail end of this race. Can you make it up? It'll be so tough. What about Peterson here in 7th, looking at some of the teammates out in front potentially?
All these NLR cars right now, it's a little bit difficult sometimes to tell who's friend, who is foe, and who's just using the skid provided either way. Big air right there for Cameron, trying to catch up to the 2 in front, holding a lot more speed right now than Francois, and it looks as if he wanted that inside. The door got shut at that last moment, still trying to fight to get themselves back in it, but as they straighten out once more, might have to wait a lap or 2. Well, can't wait too long. Can only really wait 1 more lap if you want to make that move. Another tie right here. Look how beautiful it is, those 3 synchronized cars.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. It's sort of, well, there's last drinks on this one. If you don't get one now, you don't get a position now, you'll be all out for it. So it's so close and fiercely fought inside of this top 10. Look at them again as the dirt moves around on the circuit, looking for more grip, more speed away from the inside line of the corner as the dirt gets thrown and the track progresses.
You can see how much speed you lose coming out when you go on that inside line as well. It looked like Cameron was going to be able to go sort of wheel to wheel with Francois, but as they kind of get going, well, that's when Francois was able to pull away, and now that's a little out of sorts again. As I don't know where Francois wound up going, actually kind of went around the jump as opposed to over it, winds up losing out on that position. Josh Clogg able to pull away further in that P7 spot.
And your leader's about to start the final lap. Delomo out front. We've seen your pole sitter now back in 2nd in the form of Jacob Rafos, and he's just too far back for my mind here. You don't need to worry about the slide job if you're Delomo. If the guy's half a second back, he might absolutely send it in there. But with a second and a half, a little more in your back pocket, you just got to worry about your own lines and bringing this one home cleanly. Yeah,
we'll see if, Deloto will be able to do that. I was kind of hoping we would get a recreation of, Coda via NASCAR last year when I believe it was Ross Chastain just punted 2nd place in the 1st place when he was in P3 to win that one. Beautiful move. Not going to get that here today, and instead we're going to get a really wide line by Rafos, and any chance of catching up, I think, was kind of lost right there, unfortunately for him, but fortunate for Deloto, because now all they need to do is get across this last sector clean, and they're going to be walking away with the win.
There are different ways to skin this cat as the track keeps evolving, because I think going up higher, you lose time in the corner, you get better drive off it, but still, there's not enough corners left.
Now, there's not enough, so Quinton Delotto didn't start in pole, had to make a couple moves, but as soon as they had the lead, they did not look back, and now with only 2 turns left, you can see a late lunge actually coming from Jacob. Very deep in there, just pushed it a little bit too hard. Hey, you might as well send it when you're this late in it, but it's not going to be enough. Quinton Delotto, sorry, Dalomo. How is it pronounced?
Delomo.
Delomo. I am terrible with names. I should have warned you ahead of time, all right? Either way, Delomo's going to be able to get this. I was pronouncing it right until I second-guessed myself.
Yeah, he gave us a little shuckers to the camera as he come across the line because he was well pleased with that effort, and we saw exactly what I was thinking we would. The driver in second risking it all for that last lap pass, but just a car length too far back.
As we can see Adam Briggs right now and some of that NLR equipment. This is what you were able to use before, just sliding around in it. And Briggsy, for their credit, again, currently sitting P15. Not going to be getting the win in this one, but definitely just full sending it through those turns. You can see nice and clean through that last one. Will be crossing the line, and a little bit of a sigh of relief as you come across that one right there. Just that full sort of traction, the bumps. You can really feel it in this equipment.
Yeah, and you've got the wheel that pedals, the shifters, all attached to the same motion platform. They all go with you as you go, and you feel that sideways in the rallycross car, but it's Quinton Delotto feeling the winning feeling.
Oh, that was beautiful. We get to see the doughies right there. That's the other way you celebrate, too. It's just launching yourself, and a different way to do it. Fortunately, you know, these rigs don't turn you sideways as well. Otherwise, well, we just need better seatbelts on them. As it stands, though, Quinton Delotto, beautifully well-run race right there. Led for a majority of it. Still had to make some moves. A 2.5-second gap. Well done from the driver out of France.
Jacob Raffos made him look in his mirrors all the way on that final lap, though. Had a last lap lunge and a dive, but just a couple car lengths too far back and ends up finishing 2.4 seconds adrift, but still in that respectable second place, and he didn't have to worry about covering off Josh Edmondson, who completes that podium.
I will say this, though, that move on Josh Edmondson that Jacob pulled off probably was the cleanest overtake we saw, and we got to see that from the POV from Jacob, so that was sick. Either way, going down the line, 4th place is going to be Justin Robichaud? Robichaud? It's that French-Canadian pronunciation. Everything French is a problem for me right now. I apologize to the country of France and Canada. Cameron Peterson, P5. That's going to be Paul in P6. Josh Klog, P7. Francois Martel in P8. And more of the French-Canadians. Daniel Ash in P9. And Sean Winkler in P10.
Pretty competitive in that midfield and around that top 10 as well, like we were expecting to see out of the creme de la creme and our invited drivers. And across the other page goes Connor Fisk, Levi DeCarrel, Brian Sawyer, Adam Briggs. We saw him in that Next Level Racing rig sideways as he came across the line for 14th. He might have been on his lid on that first lap as well. Blake Reynolds, Tom Grady, Zach Christie, Eric Whitner, Trevor Teal, and Beta Bakash. 20th place and still on the lead lap, all but one of them on that lead lap.
Yeah, the only driver not on the lead lap was Scott Kerr. Even the Nitro Circus Star Car was able to finish on the lead lap this time around. So kudos to you, mystery driver, whoever you might happen to be, for getting across that. But 6-lap sprints. It was chaos. It was definitely chaos at Crandon. The level of racing did improve in Div 1. It was a lot cleaner, but at the same token, that image of 3 cars tumbling down the hill akin to skiers when they fall at the top of the mountain, that was everything of the chaos at Crandon I wanted to see. I think that, for me, was that most chaotic moment.
There's some art and poetry to these cars in motion as they all, sequence their way over the jumps, try to follow the same racing lines as each other, sometimes in synchronicity, and then as the track progresses, we saw some people trying to go higher up the banking of some of the steep corners.
Yeah, that we did, and that high risk sometimes rewarded, and sometimes, well, it did not. But the one driver who it did reward the most has to be our winner for that race, Quinton Delotto. Now here for the interview. Can you hear us? And if you can, congratulations on that victory.
Hi, guys. Thank you.
So have to ask, obviously, you're qualifying. You didn't have that pole position. You had to make some moves happen, but you found your way into first place. What was your strategy going into turn 1? And when you were in that lead, how comfortable did the race start to feel?
Yeah, first of all, I was really frustrated by missing the pole. I know I had the pace to take the pole, and we know on this start that the pole is a huge advantage on the start. So I was quite afraid starting P3 because I know with the jump that it would be complicated. I take a mega start, but with the jump, Jacob was ahead, and yeah, after it was just avoiding contact and yeah, put my pace at the best as I could. Sorry.
Crandon, you're super experienced in these rallycross cars, but Crandon is really designed for trucks. So what's the biggest adaptation from the, you know, global rallycross, iRacing rallycross circuits to truck tracks like Crandon for trying to be competitive?
You need to be really smooth on the brake, on the gas. It's because it's really slippery, but it's the condition that I prefer. So it was really good.
What was the most difficult part then, I suppose, in sort of maintaining that lead when you're on front? Like, which turns were giving you, do you feel like, more difficulty? What was sort of the biggest obstacle that you had to overcome out there on this race?
In the race, I think it's the hairpin with all the guys next to you, because the brake are really complicated, and after that it's also the big left after the huge jump, because we are understeering a lot in this corner, so it's quite complicated to keep the apex.
I've heard that at this kind of level of racing the rallycross cars, you don't want to use the handbrake a whole lot, but it did seem like a lot of you guys out there, particularly for those corners with a lot of understeer, were using that to try to get some rotation.
Yeah, in rallycross I never used the handbrake, but for this race I was like using my handbrake almost every lap. Not every corner, but every lap I need to take my handbrake to rotate the car, because sometimes you miss a little bit the braking point and you are automatically understeering.
Improvise, adapt, overcome, and overcome you did. Congrats.
Thank you.
And that was Quentin Dalomo, again, the winner of that main event, but he's not the only person who are going to be able to interview right now. We also have our pole winner and finisher of second place with this one, Jacob Raffos, joining us now. Jacob, congratulations on the top three finish, top two really. I know it wasn't the win you were looking for, but do you still feel happy with your performance at least?
Yeah, it was good. I did some mistakes in the race that cost me the win. I think I did crash 2 times, so yeah, but second place, I'll take that.
Yeah, excellent. Obviously it was sort of a tough race for you. Where did the crashes kind of happen for you, and what really went down? Like, why didn't you get that clean run you were looking for?
I think me and Quentin had a little bit of netcode, and like he got sideways and I got into the wall, and the first one was just me doing a dumb mistake.
Saw a lot of drivers, you know, getting in hot to some of these corners, overshooting them, and not just yourself, all through the field. So your, I guess, feedback on the challenge that Crandon produces for these rallycross cars.
Yeah, for sure. It's really fun running Crandon with the supers and stuff. But yeah, I like it better in the pro trucks, I must say.
So you're more of the truck driver then when it comes to sort of these jumpy tracks like Crandon?
Yes, for sure.
Why is that? Is it just something like, you know, the suspensions are a bit better, you like just having a bit more vehicle to move around? Like, what is the big reason that kind of attracts you to the trucks, I suppose, then, in that regards?
It's just smooth and stuff. It's smooth around the track, and like having the flow, and yeah, also the suspension, and yeah, all that stuff.
All right, so I guess the next question I have to ask then, are we going to see you driving more trucks then in the future? Is that going to be where you're headed right now, Jacob?
Yeah, I'm aiming. I'm top 10 in the World Championships. I'm aiming for being World Champion.
Yeah. Well, good luck on that run right there.
Yeah, awesome. Congratulations on the pole. Congratulations on racing up front and putting on a really, really amazing show for all of us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, and I'd like to thank Next Level Racing for putting on the show and stuff, and Nitro Circus, and Sim Magic and Sim Racing Oz.
Nailed it. Catch you around.
All right, and that was Jacob right there, and I believe those are the two. We have one more interview as well, though. We have our 2 podium sitters, but we still have one more to talk to. Josh is able to join us now. Josh Edmondson, obviously, congratulations on that pole. It was a bit more of a rocky race. It felt like, you had a good run in second for a while before giving up that position. Still, though, podium. How do you feel about finishing in the top 3?
It was good, man. I'm happy with it. It was a lot of fun. It's tough to drive these cars on this track. They're not really meant for it, so it's a lot different than what we're used to. But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I have to ask then, what kind of prep that kind of goes into it when you're taking a car built for, a different style of track, putting it on what is essentially a truck track? How different is the preparation, and how truly different does it feel to be out there when driving?
I didn't do a whole lot of preparation, and we did a couple sessions for fun, but it's so much different than the truck. I mean, you got to handbrake it into the corners. You have to do all kinds of things different than you do in the truck. So it's a completely different world, and it's nothing like how you drive these cars on the actual rallycross tracks. The dirt model on there is different than the dirt here, so it's pretty much new to everyone here. It's not something we do at all very often. So,
any thoughts on sort of the different models of rallycross cars that are available? I mean, they've got sort of some different characteristics, some different wheelbases. Is the Subaru the machine to have, or forced upon you for Crandon?
It kind of is. We just have so much time in it. I'm just used to the Subaru, so I just pick it. But I was actually kind of thinking, with the wear in the track, that maybe the smaller wheelbase car could have stayed in that wear where it was a little more grip. So I think actually maybe the Ford would have been a good choice with the wear going into the track like that.
Just 6 laps into the race, but we did see sort of the racing line at some of those hairpins, like turn 4, sort of go speedway style, a little higher up the banking. The grip was moving away from the inside line that was becoming slicker.
Yes, definitely. And if you got outside of that main worn groove and got into the dark dirt, you lost a bunch of time. It would just grab you, slow you down, or if you got too much into it, you would just push and get a bunch of understeer. So, yeah, it was crucial to stay in that worn area, but really tough to do.
So then I guess I have to ask too, I kind of want to go back to the start of the race as well, where it was a little bit chaotic, obviously, people moving around, but you were able to get a couple positions, wound up in P2 right there. Was that the start? What about the start, enabled you, I should be saying? What was your mindset going into the start, and how were you able to get yourself out there towards the front?
Mindset was just try and survive, and luckily I did. I think that was huge for me. I was able to cut underneath a couple guys that got a better jump than I did, and then also in the second corner I was able to cut inside too, and that really helped get me up towards the front and stay out of the chaos. And then it was just trying to manage it. I made a couple big mistakes and allowed Quentin got away. He was running really good. He was obviously really fast, so congrats to him.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you so much for participating. Again, congratulations on your top 3. Is there anyone out there you would like to thank?
Absolutely. Got to shout out you guys for putting this on, Next Level Racing. This is a blast. I can't wait for next year already. Then everybody on the team, Nitro Circus, Sim Racing. I got Apex Gaming PCs, Pimax VR, and everybody else.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And again, congratulations one last time. And hopefully we get to do more than not just till next year. I want to do more of this event, this chaos at Crandon, maybe other dirt tracks, maybe other vehicles we can put in on this one as well, because I think that could be a lot of fun either way. We have another interview, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, got to hear not just from Next Level Racing,
True.
but from Nitro Circus.
Yeah.
And how you doing? We saw some great action out there that really did resemble Nitro Circus as all the cars in unison came across the jumps. Did you enjoy yourself?
Oh, that was so much fun. I mean, we really tried to put the chaos out there. So, yeah, I mean, there was cars flying every direction, which was, I mean, what more could you want? That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we just spoke to all of our podium finishers who were in the front. The driving was clean. No one was making mistakes. You were in the back of it. You were in the thick of it. You were in the chaos. What was it like just being in the belly of the machine?
Well, it was definitely scary when you're going one direction and there's a car pointed the other way. That was a little scary. But I mean, just trying to even make it around the track was fun. Couldn't ask for a better time, honestly.
I mean, I'm sort of gobsmacked for words to say. We've been almost everywhere, but that sort of final event we just had, the mixture of some of the best sim racers, Black Stripe iRacing world champions, and with yourself, I mean, a great diversity of everyone together in what's always a really exciting form of sim racing and motorsport to watch.
Yeah, I mean, we have some of the best off-road racers on the sim, and you know, just to mix them in with some of the Nitro Circus athletes is, you know, top level. And if we're not the best team out there, we definitely have the most fun.
Grinning is winning, so on that one, we're all winners today, I reckon.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
Excellent stuff right there. So one last question, I guess, before we can send you on your way, because you were able to race in both the divisions right now. Was Division 1 any less scary? Did it feel any calmer for you, or did it almost become worse with everyone going faster and sending it even harder?
No, like the main event was way more scary. Yeah, it was hectic.
Well, actually, I'm kind of curious because I only saw it in like the back of the screen. Where were you? I think it was lap 1 coming down the hill where there was like 3 or 4 cars that were just full on pinwheeling. Were you able to catch that at all? Like, was that around where you were?
About 3 feet off the start, I just black out and like hope for the best. So there might have been some stuff flying by. Yeah, definitely. I remember that.
Might have. I mean, if you're blacking out, it might have even been you and you weren't even aware.
Oh, maybe, yeah. I'll have to go back and watch.
Fair enough. Either way. Well, thank you very much again, Trevor, for joining us. Thank you for competing. Obviously, love seeing all the Nitro Circus guys out there working.
Look at his posters in the background. You think there was any chance he was going to be anything but a Subaru?
Oh, of course. Like, no, it's obvious. Why? Okay. We didn't have a chance to talk about this right now. I want to hear it from Trevor as well. Subaru is like the only car you take, right? Like, it has to be the one that you take.
Like, it would be really hard not to choose the Subaru.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep, definitely.
You take that Subaru.
Yep.
Anyone you'd like to thank before we send you?
Oh, yeah, definitely Nitro Circus. You know, they really help us out. Support is great from them. You guys, Next Level Racing, you know, keeping us with the rigs and kitted and all that. You guys are awesome. RaceSpot with the broadcast and all that. And, yeah, everyone back at home, just appreciate the event. It's fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much right there, Trevor Teal, helping represent Nitro Circus, who we love to have at this event. Fantastic seeing them partnering kind of with us here at NLR for something that was fantastic. And the chaos delivered at Crandon. We knew it was going to. We knew it was always going to be a big one right there, but that was a lot of fun. Final thoughts, realistically, before we send this one off.
Well, 1 car on its lid per race would have counted as chaos. In my mind, we saw plenty of it. We loved it. We didn't know where to look at times. We didn't know how to predict what was going to happen. But what I think we did get was some really close door-to-door competitive racing out of both splits, which is great for the community, great for Next Level Racing, great for all of the iRacers out there and our Nitro Circus friends.
Absolutely. And if you're kind of watching along and want to get involved, there's going to be many of these events throughout the year that you should be able to get in there, sign up for if you have not already. So do make sure you pay attention to those NLR socials. They're going to be out there. So keep your eyes on that Discord. That's kind of where the events start to get promoted, start to get posted. Should we plug our own socials? Should we be a little bit selfish right now, David?
Well, I think first of all, we've got to thank our producer,
do we have
Hugo
to?
Lewis.
Do we have to thank Hugo?
But, at Haynes Racing, that's me, and alongside me,
Hugo's everywhere. Everyone knows Hugo. He's everywhere. He probably gets like 5 or 6 people thanking him a week.
That's why it takes him so long to drive from his office back home, is everyone stopping to try to shake his hand.
Exactly. No, big shout out to Hugo. Absolutely in agreement right there, doing the production all the way from Brazil. Big thank you to everyone here at NLR for letting us into their new studio room. Being able to check out the facilities, man, it's fantastic. David, thank you for carrying me through this broadcast. I promise next time I'll be able to speak French Canadian and then we'll be able to get those French names down packed. And I have been Max as well. It's been an absolute blast having you here, and until next time, have a great day, everybody.